I crack my eyes open to a gray ceiling, the familiar hum of the ship in my ears. My back aches as I feel my hands bunched up underneath me, making me arch uncomfortably. The numbness isn't there like last time. Instead, it just feels like I woke up from a deep sleep. I can tell I'm back in the utility closet laying on the shag rug, but the door is open, allowing me to actually see. Slowly, I turn my head just a bit, and I'm able to vaguely make out the small deck that I'd just been in. I see Amicus to the far right, both his paws resting on the counter with the food dispenser, looking down at a panel. He's got his back to me at an angle, one foot crossed behind the other, his tail swishing back and forth while he mumbles to himself. As slowly as I can, I turn over onto my side, trying not to let out a groan of relief as my back and hands are relieved of pressure. I grimace through the pain of having blood rush back into my fingers. That's when I realize that my hands are tied at the wrist behind my back with a cord of some kind. The ends of it dangle through my fingers and it feels smooth and metallic. Some slow movements with my hands tell me immediately that they haven't been tied well. My left hand is fairly secure, but the loop around my right is loose. I get the feeling that if I pulled hard enough, I might be able to slip it. And just like that, it comes out. My shoulder jerks when I do and I freeze, waiting to see if Amicus might notice. He goes on, staring down at the panel, leaning forward to rest his chin on a fist. Cassius is probably gonna figure it out right away. I know it. Amicus sighs and hunches over further. I let out the breath I'm holding as quietly as I can before I start looking around, moving my head as little as possible. On the shelves are a variety of different objects that I can't identify. They all have a heavy industrial look to them, and I know that I could use any of them as a weapon. There's a long, pipe-like object at the end of the bottom shelf, and I imagine hefting that in both hands, bringing the end of it down on the top of that stupid wolf's. Amicus suddenly straightens up, and I stiffen, closing my eyes. I hear the wolf move, padding in my direction. That continues until there's a pause and I can feel his presence standing in the doorway. I crack open an eye, just a tiny bit, to see what he might be doing. I get a vague image of him standing over me, looking down. Hello? Human. Marco? I don't move, and I breathe as evenly as I can. Hello? He must know I'm awake. I can feel myself shaking from all the tension. Damn it. Amicus mumbles to himself as he turns away, moving back towards the deck. That's when I realize that this might be my best chance to make my move. He's not going to take me back. He's knocked me out twice, and that's reason enough to do what I'm about to do. As quietly as I can, I roll over and reach out for the metal pipe. By some miracle, I managed not to clang it against the metal rack it's on. Quietly, I bring it up in both hands as I stand. It's heavy, a lot heavier than I expected, but I can manage it. I focus on the retreating wolf's back and move at a half run, my bare feet allowing me to quietly pad toward him. Despite that, I see his ears come up at the last second, his body starting to shift in a way that tells me he's about to turn around. And I swing. What happens next is something that I can't explain. I aim for his head, wanting to cause as much damage as possible, not really thinking about the consequences of what might happen if I seriously injure or even kill him. But For some inexplicable reason, the trajectory of my swing suddenly dips down, as if caused by some invisible magnet, making me miss Amicus's head. The strange force doesn't lessen the power of my swing, though, and it carries through to land with a hard, meaty thump into the side of the wolf's thick neck. Ah! Amicus cringes, both paws moving to cover the back and side of his neck, dropping into a crouch. He looks back at me, his eyes wide and wild, an expression that sends a shot of fear into my body. I suddenly see him as a wild animal. A wild, scared, and very angry animal. I raise the pipe again, over my head to bring it down on the head I just missed. But Amicus is fast. He leaps up from the crouch, in an upward and forward motion straight into my chest. I wheeze, but manage to stay on my feet as the wolf carries me backwards to slam against the wall of the deck. Amicus snarls into my face, teeth bared, one eye wincing shut. I struggle, but there's no way. He handles me like a rag doll, like a toy. This must be how someone feels during a wild animal attack. Completely helpless, suddenly wondering why evolution left us so damn defenseless. What the hell are you doing? Ah! Amicus yells at me as he lets go of one of my wrists to put a paw to his neck, cringing as he does. Damn it! I struggle with my free hand, grabbing Amicus's face and trying to gouge his eyes and nose. The wolf immediately lets go of his neck and grabs the pipe. He wrenches it away, but I try to hold on and almost get lifted off my feet. He swings it one way, then violently in the other direction, throwing me to the floor of the deck as I lose my grip on the weapon. Amicus advances on me as I lay flat on my back, staring up at him wide-eyed, realizing how big of a mistake I've made thinking I could handle a 7-foot-tall, muscle-bound wolf. I wonder if he's going to come at me with the pipe, but he throws it to the side. He starts to lean over me, still snarling. You little prick! This time I'll bind you up to your shoulders. How does that sound? He grabs up one of my arms, trying to pull me up, but I go limp. Get up! Otherwise I'll make you! He grabs my other arm. That's when I notice his wide stance over me and a particular bulge between his legs. I hardly think about it. Drawing back one foot, I launch it as hard as I can into his crotch. I feel a distinctly soft form get flattened under my foot as it gets trapped between the force of my kick and the substantial weight of Amicus's body. If there was any doubt in my mind that this male alien would be affected in any differently compared to a male human, his reaction quashed it. Amicus freezes, eyes wide, hunching over me even further while his thighs snap together, trapping my foot. We both stay frozen for an awkward length of time as I stare at what I'd just done. And that's when I see the device hanging on his waistband. The one that he'd been using to knock me out. I struggle to pull my foot free of the surprisingly tight embrace of his thighs, while at the same time pulling my hands out of his now limp grasp. I reach for his waist, grabbing the device. Amicus, probably distracted by the unexpected nut shot, doesn't seem to notice, and I finally yank my foot free. As I stumble to my feet, the alien half-heartedly grabs at me, and I struggle against his paws before reaching for his red cape and pulling it over his head. Amicus finally stumbles back, one paw flying to his crotch, the other struggling with his cape as he stays bent over, mouth hanging open, making a weird gasping sound like he was holding his breath. I look at the device in my hands, desperately trying to understand how to use it. The glass panel takes up most of the face of the device, like a phone, but with two metal prongs stick out on one end. I frantically push at the screen and it comes to life, displaying a vertical bar. About a tenth of it is filled from the bottom with a light blue color. I push at it with my thumb, waiting for something to happen, for electricity to start arcing between the prongs or something. Instead, the bar fills with the slide of my thumb. I push it all the way up until the color turns a dark violet. I hear a snarl and see Amicus finally tear the cape off before he comes at me again. One paw still over his crotch, the other reaching out for me. I don't have time to think. I just duck under his approaching paw and press the prongs hard as I can into his body. It sinks into his stomach and I hear the wolf make a huff sound into my ear. There's a pause as nothing seems to happen. Then I press harder and squeeze the device and the result is instant. There's no sound, but Amicus's body seizes violently, shaking as if he's having a seizure. The muscles in his stomach tense hard and push the device back out a few inches. I hold it there, not wanting to let up in case it isn't enough, in case he'll just recover and come at me again. After a few seconds, the wolf's seizing and shuddering stops on its own. I start to pull back and get a glimpse of Amicus's face. His muzzle hangs open, foam and drool hanging from his chin, his eyes rolling back in his head. It's a scary sight, so I try to back away and Amicus comes with me, the contact with the device having been the only thing keeping him balanced. His weight takes me down, and the next thing I know is that I'm flat on my back, struggling to breathe as Amicus's incredible weight crushes me into the metal deck. He practically envelops me with his soft, furry body, his big head resting on my chest. I stare down at him, watching as his black lips and eyelids twitch, his tongue hanging out as he makes sporadic snorting sounds. I gasp and strain as I spend the next minute working myself out from under him, grimacing as his foamy drool smears on my chest. Finally, I manage to break free of his dead weight and crawl a few feet away, spending a few moments catching my breath. I look back at his still twitching form, his rump stuck slightly up in the air. I wonder how long I have before he wakes up. There's a long, shiny, thin cord around my left wrist, and I start to work at the knot. It's a strange material, smooth and metallic, yet it bends as easily as rope. It's a pain in the ass getting it undone, though. It's like the dumb wolf just put as many knots into it as he could. He probably had no idea what he was doing, and now it makes sense why I was able to get out of it so easily. While I'm undoing the mess, I keep looking over at him. The twitches and snorts are subsiding, which I'm not sure is a good thing or not. Come on. I grunt as I finally pull the last tangle out, straightening the metal rope thing out in both of my hands. I look between it and the knocked out wolf in front of me, giving my head a little shake. What the fuck is even happening? I get to work, planting my butt on Amicus's as I pull both of his paws behind his back. I have some difficulty keeping my balance as I lift his heavy arms and start widening the rope around his wrists. I'm not exactly an expert at tying hands behind backs either, but I feel far more confident in my work than Amicus ever should have in his own. I guess his carelessness makes some sort of sense considering I'm a tiny human and he's a giant canine. He probably thought that he'd just be able to toss me back in the closet if I got free. I look over my work, somewhat satisfied with how neat and tight the binding is. I shift and almost slide off the wolf's ass, forcing me to put my hands back and steady myself on his thighs. They're thick and heavily muscled, and that makes me realize that they might also be a problem. While biting his arms is a start, I have no doubt in my mind that he'd be able to take me out with a few nasty kicks. I stand up and start looking around for more of that rope, but that's when I notice something strange happening outside the windows. Thin streaks of white light stretch and bend, moving slowly from the front before arcing in long lines to the sides and disappearing from sight. I stare, mesmerized, then suddenly feel sick at the sight. I avert my eyes, looking at the wall while I watch the strange light show out of the corner of my eye. Are those stars? Are we in some sort of wormhole or what was it called? Hyperspace? I start to get the feeling that I'm very, very far from Earth now, which makes me feel even more sick. I want to keep my mind off of it, so I set about searching the deck for more of the metal rope, trying to ignore that we might be moving at the speed of light into the depths of space. I don't have much luck. Most everything in the ship is flush to its surface with very few moving parts. I end up going back to the utility closet, and that's when I see that metal polygon with the long cord sticking out of it, the one I'd knocked off the shelf earlier. I lean over and pull at it, deciding that it should hold, even if it's more plasticky and not metal. 5 minutes later, and I have his legs bound together. I search around for the taser for another minute before finding it pinned between Amicus's chest and the deck. I'm hot and sweaty as I finally sit back against the opposite wall, staring at the face-down wolf and his bindings. I weigh the taser in my hand, going over scenarios in my mind for what I'm going to say to him when he wakes up back up. I'm not sure how long it takes. An hour, maybe 2, before Amicus starts to stir. At first he groans, then he rolls over a few times, then draws up his bound legs before trying to work his paws free. Finally, he opens his eyes, and because he's on his side, I'm the first thing he sees. He squints, frowns, then groans again, turning over onto his stomach. What the hell? I clear my throat and swallow, trying not to show how nervous I am. Yeah, what the hell? You tased me again. What? Amicus turns his head to look at me again, then looks away, letting out another groan. Ugh, my stomach. What did you do? Exactly what you did to me. I hold up my taser, turning it in the light so the wolf can fully see it. Amicus stares at it for a moment before letting his face fall back to the floor of the deck. Oh, God. I feel like I'm on fire. Did you use it at full power? What the hell is wrong with you? Despite my fear and anxiety over this entire situation, I'm able to feel indignant. Me? You did the same to me, then lied to me, then tased me again, then tied me up. You're crazy. I would never use full power on anyone. Ugh. Amicus seems to ignore my rant as he rolls onto his back, arcing over his tied paws, probably stretching out the muscles that I'd hit with the taser. I wait a while longer, listening to the grunts, groans, and complaints as Amicus continues to whine. I'm not that stupid, though. I can tell he's stalling for time, trying to figure out a way to get out of this. I stand up. Take me home. Amicus opens one eye, glaring at me. What? I said take me home. Amicus goes quiet for a moment, his eyes closed. Then he forces himself to sit up, visibly cringing as he's forced to use his stomach muscles. He scoots back with more complaints until he plants his back firmly against the wall behind him. I see his shoulders shift, his biceps bulging, and can tell that he's working and testing the restraints. I raise the taser. Stop moving or I'm gonna hit you again. Fuck off! I move toward him, brandishing the taser like a sword. Hey, hey, hey! Amicus kicks his feet up, trying to block my attack. Now I see real fear in his eyes. Then stop moving and tell me how we get back. I don't really want to shock him again. It did look really painful, and on top of that, I don't want to knock him out for hours while our little ship is hurtling through space. Amicus glares at me for a moment, his feet still in the air before he slowly lowers them. I'll show you if you let me go. I actually laugh at the sound, and the sound seems to startle the wolf. Are you kidding me? Why should I trust you at all after what you've done to me? Amicus's ears flatten. Tell me where the hell you're taking me and why. Otherwise, I will zap you again. He seems at a loss for words. I can't tell you. I glare, and for a moment I consider just jabbing him again right then and there. Why not? The wolf remains silent as he looks away from me. I feel myself getting even more angry. I'm tired of this alien holding me hostage. Well, I guess I'll just have to figure it out on my own then. I turn away and start moving toward the front of the deck. Amicus shifts around behind me. What? You don't know the first thing about this ship. Don't? The big wolf grunts as he tries to get to his feet under him. Don't touch anything. I ignore him and move to the panels, looking them over. The big one in the middle looks promising, and I start poking at it. I know I won't be able to figure out how to turn the ship around, but the wolf's worry over me touching the panels gives me an idea. I can probably mess things up to the point where he'll have to tell me what he's doing, or even how I might be able to get back. There aren't many other options aside from torturing him, something I don't really want to do. The lines and shapes move with my finger, and Roman numerals pop up randomly here and there. Hey, what are you doing? Amicus huffs and puffs behind me, just as a circle appears and compresses around my finger, like it's zeroed in on something. I look back to see Amicus hobbling up onto his tied-together feet, looking just about ready to topple over. You have no idea what... I feel a soft vibration under my finger, not unlike my phone's haptic feedback. Overriding sleep mode. Locked on to Stella 556425. No! Calm! Stop last directive! Voice commands for piloting are reserved for the Emperor, Amicus. Human, stop! Amicus starts hopping toward me on his bound feet, and I scramble to the side so he doesn't run into me. No, no, no! The wolf stares down at the panel, and I look out the window as the stars seem to curve all the way to my right, making me feel sick again. And the next thing I know, the cabin is lit up by an ominous red glow. The windows suddenly tint, blocking the worst of the light, and that's when I'm able to see a massive ball of fire in front of the ship. The size of it is incredible. Orbital trajectory will intersect with the photosphere. Ensure safety straps are in place, making corrective maneuvers. I only have a moment to wonder what the hell Com is talking about before Amicus and I are thrown sideways into the left window of the ship. The impact is mostly cushioned by Amicus's body, and I hear him yell and curse under me. Move! Get in the seat! I struggle to reach out to the seat in front of me, but I can barely lift my hand. The gravity of the star is so powerful it feels like it's gonna suck out my soul. Then I'm suddenly boosted up by something behind me, and I look back, the movement making me feel like my neck is gonna break. I see Amicus with his back planted against the window, his feet pushing me up into the seat. I manage to grab the armrest and pull myself into it. Now the left armrest is digging painfully into my back, making it feel as if a professional wrestler is slamming me into a backbreaker. Amicus jumps from the window, high enough that his feet land against the right side of my chair. Then he jumps again, managing to wedge himself in the footwell of the opposite seat. Heat shields are compromised. Expect heat damage to outer layer of ship in 30 seconds. With a great deal of snarling and gasping, he pushes himself awkwardly into the seat, both feet planted against the panel in front of him for leverage. He turns to me, teeth bared, a determined look in his eyes. Look at your right armrest. Do you see the green panel between the red buttons? Through the shock, I'm somehow able to understand him and look down. Now, drag your finger across it to the left. It'll steer the ship. I feel panic starting to rise up in my chest at the idea of steering a goddamn spaceship. What? Just do it. Point us away from the star. I do as I'm told, sliding a thumb gingerly over the green panel. And slowly, the ship turns, pointing away from the star, shifting the incredible force of gravity until it's pulling us back into the seats. Now, see that lever in between us? Yeah. Pull it down. Now reaching my hand out is almost impossible as it gets pulled back toward the star behind us. Gritting my teeth, I lean forward as hard as I can, practically throwing myself forward and grabbing onto the lever. Then gravity does the rest of the work and the lever comes down hard. I lose my grip and get thrown back into my seat. The gravity increases twofold, and for a moment it feels like my entire body is being crushed into a pancake. And then, the burning orange light is gone, and the deck goes black. Running diagnostics. Amicus? Yes, calm. Damage to the ship is severe. Recovery mode is required. Enter recovery mode. Stand by. We sit in silence for a long, long time. I lean against the seat with both feet drawn up to my chest, feeling numb and shaky. I also feel stupid, embarrassed, and kind of guilty. On one hand, I nearly just got us both killed. But on the other hand, this crazy alien almost killed me by bringing me here in the first place. At least it feels that way. I still don't know what his ultimate plan is with me. I wonder for the 100th time if I'm going to wake up. I plug my nose and try to breathe through my nostrils. No air comes through. I sigh and look out the window, at the blue glow that we found ourselves in. The star that we just escaped is far away now, though it's still an almost blinding tiny orb far to my left, kind of like the sun was not too long ago. It's lighting up all of this dust that's around us with an eerie blue glow. It's kind of calming. I look over at Amicus and see him slumped in his chair, looking out the window. His shoulders are hunched, ears drooping, and his head down. He's on the edge of his seat because his arms are still tied behind his back, forcing him to lean forward a bit. Calm hasn't spoken since we went into recovery mode, and the ship hasn't moved at all. The usual hum isn't even there. It's like everything is turned off. I finally decide to break the silence. Amicus? I see his ears flick, but he keeps his head down, not even looking at me. I swallow, then try again. Amicus. I see his shoulders rise and fall in a deep sigh, but he keeps silent. I'm about to just give up and slump back into my seat when he suddenly responds. What? What's happening? The wolf turns to glare at me. What do you mean, what's happening? You broke the ship! He turns away and continues to sulk. I feel a little anger at that, and I realize that this alien isn't alien at all. He's acting just like an upset human kid that didn't get his way. It makes me a little less afraid of him. Excuse me? Do I have to go through the list of shit that you did to me? Amicus turns to me, and I can almost hear his mind working to think of some sort of comeback. Well, I think you topped it by nearly throwing us into a star, human. You shouldn't have kidnapped me in the first place, wolf. I should be calling you child since that's what you are. Well, this child outsmarted you, zapped you, and tied you up. I see him bristle, the hackles rising on his shoulders like a dog. You could have killed me. That setting is meant for creatures 3 times my size. How was I supposed to know? I don't know anything about what's going on. I told you what's going on. You really think I'm stupid, don't you? Amicus pouts and turns away again. I think you thought I was some stupid alien you could just take advantage of. I can tell you've been lying to me this whole time. Amicus flattens his ears even more, shoulders bunching up. Is that what your people do? Kidnapping and lying to everyone you meet? Now his hackles really raise up, and he turns on me fast. I try not to lean back. Despite the similarities, he's still a wolf, and those teeth are terrifying. I do not lie. I... The wolf's righteous indignation seems to deflate. The situation is too complicated for you to understand. I glare at him. Who's tied up again? Amicus doesn't take the bait this time and remains slumped. I guess it doesn't matter now. We're probably going to die out here with how badly the ship is burned. That makes my stomach twist a bit. I want to ask him if he's just moping or if he actually thinks we're going to die. But another long moment of silence stretches between us. I look out the window again, at the towering cloud of dust in front of us. Well, if that's the case, then can you just tell me what's going on? Amicus goes on staring out his window. I sigh and lean back, resigned to the idea that I might not ever know why I was dragged out to space to simply get stuck and die in a dust cloud. Then Amicus speaks. I made some mistakes. I glance at him, waiting, not wanting to say anything in case he stops talking. I didn't know your species wasn't part of the Galaxius. It's very illegal to make first contact without authorization from a parent. Parent? The authorities of the galaxy. I frown and Amicus looks at the confusion on my face. How can I put it simply? There are 3 levels in the Galaxius. At the very top are the parents. They arrive from beyond our galaxy to spread their culture here. Amicus glances at me. You know what a galaxy is? That there are others outside of our own? Yeah. Amicus lets out a breathy chuckle. Of course. I probably should have expected that. So, you must know then that intergalactic travel is incredibly advanced, almost godlike, and that's what they are. Gods. There are 8 of them that are still present in our galaxy, though they rarely communicate with us these days. Then there are the siblings. That's what my species is a part of. The galaxy was scoped out by the parents at the very start to find the most intelligent and capable species. They each selected one, and we were the ones chosen and uplifted by the Romanus. The note of pride in Amicus's voice is obvious. From then on, it has been our mission to increase intelligence in promising species and to teach them our philosophy and culture to uplift. I try to make sense of that in terms I can understand. So, you spread the culture for the parents? They're like your god and your species are like missionaries? Amicus shrugs. Yeah, sort of like that. That doesn't sound so great, especially when I compare it to things that have happened on Earth. Mass galactic assimilation. So, why are they doing this? If they got here at the same time and did the same thing, does that mean they're working together? Amicus shakes his head. We don't really know all the reasons for what the parents do, but we compete with the other siblings. But that brings me to the rest of the sapients in the galaxy, the children. The siblings uplift these children and bring them into our fold under the direction of our parents. Again, they haven't told us exactly what's going on, but we came to the conclusion that it's some sort of competition, and we mean to win for our parents. So, I'm a child? Well, no, not really. I've been calling you that, but you're not part of the Galaxius, and that's where I've made my mistake. Like I said, it was illegal for me to contact you, but I didn't know. How did you not know that? Shouldn't you have a record of this type of stuff? That's the confusing part to me. I found Earth in the library, so there was a record of it, but there wasn't much. Just a few footnotes about a sapient species there. But because that record exists, I know that your species was uplifted to child status at some point. In Rome? Presumably, but sometimes the species is unable to be uplifted for different reasons. Too aggressive, too docile, too unintelligent. Amicus glances at me. I thought this is what happened to your species. Then, if we've been uplifted, doesn't that mean that you've already made first contact? Yes, but you're still not part of the Galaxius. That's why I made the mistake. You should know about it, but you don't. Knowledge of other intelligent life is sacred, and for whatever reason, your species lost it. So it doesn't matter that we've made contact before. If the knowledge of the Galaxius has been lost, then any form of communication between us is first contact all over again. And while uplift has been cancelled with species in the past, we don't completely cut off contact. They're permanently part of the Galaxius. I've never heard of something like this happening before, so I panicked. Amicus glances at the ceiling. Wasn't able to tell me that until he connected to your nexus. Nexus? Another word that doesn't translate. Like, the technology that connects people, places, information. The internet? If that's your word for it. So, I try to understand everything I'm being told. Why didn't you just tell me all of this before you kidnapped me, or knocked me out? I see Amicus's ears flatten as he looks away, clearly ashamed. I don't know. I didn't fully understand the intelligence of your species yet. I thought I could just lead you to believe things. I don't say anything, and Amicus shifts uncomfortably. Leaving you on Earth after you saw me, you might have gone to the authorities on your planet with that knowledge, which might have led to a monitor being alerted. Amicus answers my question before I can ask it. Monitors are basically the ears and eyes of the parents. They monitor the galaxy. And what happens if they're alerted? Amicus sighs deeply. I don't know. It hasn't happened in a long time, and I don't think anyone has ever broken this particular law. It's one of the most important laws we're supposed to follow. Knowing I'd broken it... Amicus pauses. Scared you? Amicus shakes his head but doesn't say anything. I try to piece all of this together in my head. So then you panicked and kidnapped me. It was either that or kill you. Or leave you and hope for the best, but that was a risk that I felt I couldn't take at the time. Amicus seems to shrink in his seat. And I guess I just didn't want to tell you because I knew I disrupted your life in a terrible way. I thought that I might be able to make you forget and want to stay with me if you saw my home. But why? Why did you do it in the first place? What do you want from me? Amicus looks at me for a long while, probably debating on how much to tell me, then he turns away. I needed a pet. Excuse me? Amicus shrinks up even more in his chair. It's a very long story. I glare at the back of his head. Well, if we're going to be here a while, then I have time. Amicus goes on staring out the window. My father was the emperor. The throne was mine to take, but my brother has challenged me, so now we're both competing for it. Amicus looks at me out of the corner of his eye for my reaction. His expression tells me I should be impressed, but learning he might be an influential figure among his people doesn't really seem too crazy after the events of the past day or so. And getting a pet will help you how? My brother has one. A sibling species, which means that his pet is on the same level of the hierarchy as us. I frown. Oh? And that's unusual? Definitely. It shouldn't even be legal, but somehow he negotiated it. They signed a contract and everything. I shake my head. So what does having a pet do? Amicus shrugs. It's a good status symbol to have. The fact that my brother was able to obtain such a prestigious pet shows his skill at negotiation, and has put me at a huge disadvantage. I needed to do something even more grand to impress my father's advisor. He's the one that will choose between us. By kidnapping me? Amicus growls. That wasn't part of the plan. I thought you'd know what I was and be amazed that a wolf had come back to your species. I was going to make a deal with you, like my brother did with his pet. I wanted a sapient that no one had seen in a long time. So that's why I'm here. To be used as some pawn in some power struggle in some alien empire far away. So why can't you take me back? What if I promise not to say anything? I would take you back if I could. I realize now that that would have been the better option, but I can't. Why not? First of all, the ship might be damaged beyond repair. Secondly, there isn't enough power to get back. Earth was on the outer reaches of how far I could travel. I need the rest to return home. I managed to stop myself from telling the wolf that all of this is his fault and shouldn't be my problem at all. Well, can we get more power when we get to your home? Then go back to Earth? No, it's a type of power that the parents produce. We're not able to harness it yet. So get more from them, from wherever you got the power in the first place. Amicus leans his head against the headrest. Our parents authorize and distribute it. And for whatever reason, they stopped supplying it when we lost our emperor. I feel myself growing more and more frustrated. Then how the hell are you using it now? A moment of silence goes by. This was my father's ship. Only the Emperor has constant access to the technology. I borrowed it to get to you. I glare at him. You mean you stole it? You know, you're pretty dishonest for someone who says they never lie. Another soft rumbling growl from him. Times are desperate. Ask your dad to take me back then. If you didn't gather from earlier, he's dead. So no one has access to it right now. I'm just using up what was left. I stare at Amicus for a while, words failing me. Listen, I didn't want to do all those things I did to you. I'm protecting us both. I laugh. Oh, really? Yes. I was planning to bring you to the palace to live a good life and forget your old one. Then when you started asking those questions, I realized your intelligence is much higher than I thought it would be. Then Calm thought you might attack me. I made mistakes. Amicus lets out another huge sigh and slumps in the seat, looking away. Several minutes go by in silence, both of us staring out into the eerie blue. So what now? What are your plans? Amicus is the one to laugh this time. Get out of these bonds if you'd let me. I look at him incredulously. Amicus sighs. Listen, you have no idea how to handle this ship. I can at least run diagnostics to see what we can do about this. What's to stop you from knocking me out again? If you don't attack me or hit me with the Nervo again, then I won't have to. I look to my left armrest and pick up the little taser device. This? Amicus eyes it uneasily. Yeah. How can I trust you after everything that's happened? I give you my word. I frown. And you could go back on it just as easily. I would never do that. I don't make promises lightly, Marco. Amicus is so indignant that I actually believe him. Or he's just a really good actor. Either way, I'm going to have to let him go at some point. Especially if we really can't get back to Earth. So I make my decision. If I let you go, you have to find a way to get me back to Earth. Amicus thinks for a moment. I can do that if I become Emperor. And how long will that take? Amicus shrugs. A few months if all goes well. With your help, it could be even faster. You're very clever. More intelligent than some wolves I know, even. Months? My parents are probably freaking out by now. School starts in a few weeks. All of these things seem so distant now. Amicus frowns. I'm sorry, but I can't do anything. I need to be an emperor to even talk to the parents. I think, but again, I don't have many options. I look Amicus in the eye. You promise? You have my word. For a moment, I sit there, contemplating. Then I sit up straight. All right, stand up. Amicus perks up, then hops to his bound feet, almost falling over. I'm sure to place the Nervo close by behind me, just in case. A few minutes later, and the wolf is free. We both regard each other wearily for a few moments before Amicus finally sighs. Listen, I have no reason to incapacitate you now that you know everything. But if it makes you feel better, you can hang on to the Nervo until we get to Adastra. That a fair exchange? I look back at the little device. While I have little reason to trust Amicus, the wolf has virtually no reason to trust me. I consider it, then shake my head. Can we put it away somewhere? I'd rather just not be thinking about it. Amicus looks at me in surprise, then rubs his stomach where I jabbed him. Okay, yeah, that sounds like a deal to me. Amicus holds out a paw, and I look down at the thick, black pads on his fingers and palm before picking up the Nervo and handing it to him carefully. For a moment, I imagine him immediately turning the thing around and jabbing it into my face, but instead he turns and walks toward the back of the ship. I notice his stance is slightly bow-legged, and he adjusts himself a few times. That makes me feel a little guilty about fighting dirty earlier. But only a little. On his way, he sweeps up his cape in one fluid motion before wrapping it around his shoulders. Then he moves to the back wall, and sticking out a paw, he presses a panel and a small portion of the wall slides back, revealing another smaller room. From where I am, I can see what looks like a little cot in various cupboards. He opens one of these and places the Nervo inside before shutting it. He comes back out and notices me staring. That's my quarters. It's where I sleep. If you, need to urinate or whatever else you do, there's a toilet in there. I'm fine for now. I feel my stomach gurgle, something that it's been doing for a while now. I am a little hungry, though. Amicus raises a brow. You want to try it again? Sure. It's not the worst food I've ever had. The earthy smell translates into the taste, but there's a strange hint of sweetness to it. Like chocolate, and that makes it a little more palatable. I can at least swallow it down without gagging, so that's good, I guess. Amicus has his own cup, though he's paying more attention to the panels than his food. I may have been exaggerating a bit earlier. Damage appears to be minimal. We're actually lucky that you didn't lock onto something worse, like a pit. There was one very near that star. A pit? Amicus shrugs, waving his hand in the air, as if brushing my question aside. A very strong gravitational singularity that sucks everything up around it. Like a black hole? Black hole? Like, its gravity is so powerful that even light gets pulled into it? That's why they're black. Amicus looks at me in surprise. Oh, you know what that is? Guess I should stop being surprised, honestly. You humans really are something. You basically uplifted yourselves. I shrug. We touched on it in my Astronomy 101 class. I don't know much about them. But the fact that your species found out about them in the first place. Anyway. Amicus presses a button before suddenly the hum of the ship comes back to life. Systems back online. And... Amicus pulls the levers and suddenly blue disappears and the windows are filled with warping stars again. I immediately look away, feeling the chocolate mud start to work its way up my throat. We were actually almost to Adastra when you took control. Amicus rubs the side of his neck, wincing as he stretches it out. Should be there fairly soon. What is this? I wave my hand at the window, not looking. The bending light? It's the stretch drive. Basically, space is being shortened ahead of us. Amicus puts his paw closer together in front of himself. And stretched out behind us. Amicus stretches his paws out wide. I don't really know how it works. Only the parents can build this kind of tech, and it's the only way I could get to Earth. Or anywhere outside of our star system, really. They even figured out a way to make time stand still around us when we travel. Otherwise, way too much time would have passed back home. I'm starting to get a picture of how powerful these parents actually are. Beings capable of warping space and time to their will. So, how much more time? Arriving at Stella Vita. And just like that, the stars become still again. Amicus grins. Welcome to Adastra, Marco. I look out the window and see a large green and blue sphere shimmer below me. Beyond it, there's another globe, this one chalky and gray. A smaller and even brighter orb floats further to the right, its color almost pure white. Amicus points at the more Earth-like sphere. That specifically is Adastra. The planet to the left is Anchorus. There aren't many people there aside from miners. The smallest is Torque, another moon. I know you live on a planet, so Adastra might seem a bit small to you. I press a hand to the window and notice that it's ice cold. Looks pretty big from here. Amicus leans over the console and starts touching the screen. Re-entry sequence engaged. Go ahead and put on your safety straps. Re-entry is never comfortable in smaller ships. I hurriedly do as he says, sitting down and trying to figure out the seatbelt. Eventually, Amicus has to come over and help, showing me how the strap just feeds into a slot. This automatically pulls the strap tightly against my waist and chest. As Amicus gets in his own seat, we start to curve around to the darker side of Adastra. Every now and then, there's a bit of a downward tug on my stomach, sort of like when the passenger jet I was in was landing in Rome. I had imagined that things would rattle around, along with a bunch of fire and heat like in a Hollywood movie. Instead, there's only a rumbling sound that accompanies a gentle vibration through the seat. There isn't any fire, but I do start to see blue flashes on the otherwise black windows. I look over at Amicus and see that he's got his eyes closed, looking relaxed. The wolf opens his eyes and smiles gently at me. Don't worry, this is all normal. I realize how nervous I must look, so I nod and lean my head back in the seat. The electric blue flashes stop after a while, and then I feel one final downward pull on my body before the rumbling fades out. We sit in complete silence and darkness for a moment before I hear Amicus moving next to me. Okay, we're in the hangar right now. Just follow me into the palace. Amicus gets up, but the ship stays dark. So does the hangar. Okay. Why aren't there any lights? Everyone's probably asleep. I don't want to wake them up. I get the feeling that he just doesn't want anyone to catch us, but I don't say anything. I fiddle with my seatbelt, unable to get it undone until I feel Amicus lean over me, breathing in my ear as his large paw covers mine, pressing something that releases the strap. I stand up, feeling around blindly as I hold onto the seat, only barely able to make out the red bristles of the headrest in front of me. I reach out a hand. Hey. Amicus's rough paw pads envelop my hand. What's wrong? I can't see anything. Oh, can you not see in low light? Amicus starts pulling me along before I hear a soft beep and then a whooshing sound. Not really. Another sound catches my attention. Crickets. They have crickets here, too. At the same time, I'm hit by a wall of humid warmth, almost like walking into a sauna. Amicus puts a paw against my chest. Oh, wait a second. Then I hear a soft thud followed by a grunt. Hello? Lean down. My eyes have adjusted a bit more to the dark, and I'm barely able to make out what I think are paws reaching up toward me. I crouch down, and Amicus grabs me under the arms before pulling me clumsily off the deck of the ship. My face mashes up against his furry chest before I'm set down on my feet. Alright, so we're just going to go straight to my room. Try not to make too much noise. I start to nod, but Amicus is already pulling me along. The humidity presses down on me like a physical force, and I start to worry that I might actually have trouble surviving on this moon. It's really hot. Things will cool off once we're inside. I can hear him panting heavily as we move through the hangar. I still can't see much, just angular shapes in the darkness. But finally I see some light ahead, along with some cold air. We turn a corner and I have to blink against how bright it suddenly becomes. And that's where I'll call it for this one. Yay, we made it. Landed safe. Yay. As always, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed and I hope to see you next time. Bye.